Hello, my friends. It's the show. Welcome to it. Yeah, who starts their podcast? It's the show. You know which show it is. You clicked on the button, hopefully not on accident. Rob Z Radio. Today, an awesome guest, Kenny Dodson. But before we get to him, I like to feature a bunch of the other people that I've had on the podcast. One of my favorite guests in the whole wide world is Sarah Vogel. So let's hear from Sarah real quick before we get into the thick of things, shall we? This is Sarah Vogel from episode 257 of the podcast. She owns the Clay Cup in Altoona, PA. Sarah, what is one of your daily disciplines that you could share?
Rob, I think one of my daily disciplines would be, first of all, to drink as much water as I possibly can. But more importantly, I think I try to take creative time every day, whether that's like actual physical painting creative time or mental, like where I'm thinking about, okay, what is my next project going to be, and kind of brainstorming. I definitely am doing that daily, and I think that's how I continue to just keep things new and fresh and always creating something.
I'm curious, whenever you're in creative thinking mode, where are you? Do you have a certain spot you have to go to? Like, how do you get into that mindset?
If I'm actually painting, then I'm usually in my studio, which is in my home.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's just something that I'm thinking about, I do that anywhere. Like driving, laying in bed, like anytime.
For me, always, I get the best ideas when I walk. So if I'm like stuck on something, I'll go for a walk and stuff will come to me.
Sometimes it's when I'm peeing, honestly, like in the bathroom.
It's a short span of time.
I know, it's short, but I have like a quiet moment and I'm like thinking about it and I'm like, oh, I should paint that next.
I'm adding two things together, drinking lots of water.
Yes.
So there's a lot of moments for peeing.
For creative time. Oh my gosh, you're a genius.
You just combined them together. That's great. Thank you.
Mind blown.
That is from Sarah's from episode 257 of the podcast. And honestly, I would listen to that episode in every small business brainstorm because Sarah's on all of those episodes as well. And they are all a ton of fun. Speaking of being a ton of fun, Kenny Dodson on the show today. So the PA Traveler is a half-hour-long travel show based in good old Pennsylvania. It follows Kenny Dodson as he explores the things to do in Pennsylvania. So the cool thing about this is Kenny decided to do this show because, you know, he grew up, was born and raised in the same place that I was, central Pennsylvania. And when you live somewhere, you kind of take that place for granted. You think, oh, nothing ever happens in this stupid town, this stupid state. Well, it turns out many awesome things do happen. And I had the same experience as Kenny. For many, many years, wanted to get out of here, wanted to leave, and then through my elder age, my infinite wisdom, I realized how awesome, beautiful, and amazing Pennsylvania can be. Now, Kenny actually did leave for a long time and did some awesome things. So, amazingly enough, he traveled around the country. He lived in L.A., he lived in Texas, he lived in Florida, and a few other places, and actually became a film editor on major motion pictures. Yeah, how crazy is that? So that was another reason that I really wanted to get him in here, because he edited films like We Bought a Zoo, Saving Mr. Banks, Broken City, just to name a few. You can check out his credits. Search for him on his own. But he is the host, creator, producer, director, co-writer, and editor for the PA Traveler, which helps show people from and not from Pennsylvania how beautiful Pennsylvania actually can be. And I can't wait for you to hear his story because it's pretty awesome. Now, as far as the sponsors go, we just had Sarah on, right? She just talked a second ago. She runs the Clay Cup, 1304 11th Avenue in Altoona. Facebook and Instagram is the Clay Cup. Coffee, tea, freshly baked items, pottery, painting, watercolor classes. She brings food, drinks, and artistic abilities all together in one spot at the Clay Cup. And also a shout out to Trade Secrets, 1223 13th Avenue in Altoona. Secrets and Trade on Facebook. Natural body care products, okay? It's all made in-house. All the research is done by Andy, and then it's sold by Steph. They're a husband and wife couple who run this business. They make sugar scrubs, bath bars, all natural deodorants, lip balms, body lotions, whipped body butters, good things for your body that aren't going to cause any weird reactions whenever you take those items. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's the beauty of Trade Secrets. 1223 13th Avenue in Altoona. Make sure you check them out. And also Juice, 517 Allegheny Street in Hollidaysburg at The Juice Bar on Facebook and Instagram. JOOS, The Juice Bar. Cold pressed juice and smoothies, smoothie bowls, bone broth, all fresh and made to order. My friends, let's start the show.
This is Rob Z Radio.
Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the show. Kenny Dodson joining me here today.
Hello.
Hello there, sir. First time on a podcast?
First time doing anything, being the host of my show.
Yes!
So,
This is
first appearance.
Three guests in a row, first time podcasters.
Oh, no way.
It's exciting. Ray Overdorf, Steve Sheets, now you.
Oh, okay.
You're in good company.
I am. That's a very good company to be in.
So, before we got started, we were just talking about something that I stopped the conversation on because I loved the way it was going. The you build it, they will come mentality of Pennsylvania.
For film industry.
For the film industry.
Mm-hmm.
So, you've been in the industry for how many years? What's your...
I graduated from Penn State in 2010. So
Okay.
8 years.
And you've been all over the country, to LA, to Austin, and
New York,
New York.
Miami, Wilmington, North Carolina.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Working in the Hollywood film industry. You're a video editor,
Yes.
and now you're back in PA. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Nice weather today.
Oh,
for
yeah,
once.
for sure.
It only rains like, I'd say 25 days out of the month. Not that big of a deal.
Not that big of a
It's
deal.
decent.
I mean, the thing about LA is it never rained or did any weather
Yeah.
at all, and everyone calls it perfect.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, it sort of is, but you know, you once you get a rainy day, me and my wife, we were just like so ecstatic. We're like, thank God there's rain. You know,
Yeah.
there's something else to look at
Yeah.
other than blue sky and no clouds.
Yeah.
So
it's like the perfect thing can turn unperfect.
Yeah.
The longer it's perfect.
Absolutely.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the same goes for the ocean. You just kind of get tired of living by it after a while. Most people say that they won't, but if you haven't lived there, you don't know for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, because I don't like cold water to begin with.
Oh, okay.
So I never went in the water, and I was always, by the ocean. I was kind of sad.
Just staring at it.
Yeah, well, you listen to the tranquility and everything, but it's just the same weather, same landscape, all that stuff. And some people love it, and some people it drives you a little crazy.
Then you come to Pennsylvania, and you get 4 seasons in one day.
Exactly.
It's about variety.
Exactly. Well, the trees didn't even know what to do this year.
So nobody knows what to do. It's such a
I was like, why are
confusing-
there why are there leaves on the ground that are green?
right?
Like why haven't
They're
they
committing
turned?
suicide. They're
I
just
guess
jumping
that's
off.
what it is. They're like, I don't know what to do, so I'm just gonna jump off.
Yeah.
Peace.
So, being in the industry, coming back, you're living in Lidditz, PA right now,
Yeah.
and you've started the PA Traveler.
Mhm.
You've the first episode that I got a chance to watch. Thank you for giving me a copy to watch. I
Oh, my
loved it.
pleasure.
It was so much fun. You're going over Hollidaysburg and Canoe Creek, and if you're not from Central Pennsylvania, I say this every episode because anybody in the world could listen to this. We're in Central PA, so not a lot happens here, right, on a daily basis, unless you're looking for things
Unless
that
you're
are
looking
happening.
for it. Yeah. Like growing up, I always thought I knew what Pennsylvania was all about. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, well, it's green. There are 2 big cities, and then in between it's just forest. And
Yeah.
I never traveled anywhere until I went out of the state. I was like traveling in Texas. I was traveling in California. I was, doing all that stuff in Florida. And I stopped and went, you know what? I've never, ever traveled in Pennsylvania while I lived there. The first 22 years of my life,
Yeah.
I just kind of stayed in Altoona. I didn't even go to Bedford to explore,
Right.
and I found out that a lot of people, they think the same that I did. Like I know what Pennsylvania's all about. I don't need to do any of that because it's boring.
Yeah.
And my counter now is it? Is it really boring?
It's just because I think any place that you grow up becomes boring, right? Because you've been there your whole life. It's like, even if you grew up in Hawaii, you're probably like, it's Hawaii, whatever, no big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just Pennsylvania itself. It's everywhere I went, people stuck to their city.
Yeah.
They didn't go out. And that's what this show is trying to do, is to make you go out, explore your own backyard, show you any place in Pennsylvania can be a destination, not just Pittsburgh or Philly, even though I want to show those off too, of course.
But man, you're totally right. And that's one thing I liked about the first episode that I got to watch. It was that it made you appreciate the area more than you may already have appreciated it. Now, this happened to me many years ago. I grew up in Sinking Valley when I was a kid, and Sinking Valley was all country land. I lived next door to the Amish.
Oh, yeah.
Hated it. Hated that. I hated living back there. It was like 8 miles back, and there was just nothing going on. And then as I grew up and I moved out of Sinking Valley and I'd go back to visit, I'd realize, like, it's so beautiful out here. I love it out here. I'd ride my bike out there. There's caves back there we'd go through. And it just made me exactly what you're saying right now. You don't appreciate something until you leave it, right? And you go back and check it out, and you're like, wow, there's actually a lot going on here that I enjoy. I just never noticed.
Yeah, well, you just don't know how great mountains are until you don't have them anymore. And, you just feel exposed. You feel like you're unprotected.
Yeah.
It's like a tornado could come at any time and just wipe us out, and there'd be nothing to stop it. Where, here we have protection and beauty and, views. We can go up and hike up mountains and, see things from a higher perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't always have that there. And that's why it was great to gravitate towards Austin a little bit, because they had hills that had, trees on it and everything like that. It was much more, when you think of Texas, you usually think of the Wild West, you think of desert
flat.
and everything like that. And it's definitely not. It has multiple, different areas that have multiple things to offer. And even though Pennsylvania doesn't quite have different landscapes, there's still different things to do that are unique to a certain area that aren't like anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And I just never saw that prior to this.
Yeah, I never left Pennsylvania. I mean, obviously I've visited other places, but I've been in Altoona my entire life. And that's something that I've taken for granted for a long time too. Mountain ranges, just the beautiful scenery of it, and a lot of people who visit here often say that, which I think is what's really cool about what you're doing and highlighting what Pennsylvania is all about. Is that when you're saying if you build it, they will come mentality. You were talking of like Atlanta, Georgia, where they're now building a film industry there, and they're just getting people off the street.
Yep.
Who are like grips and holding the boom mics or whatever they're doing. And you want to bring that here to Pennsylvania.
Absolutely, yeah. At this point, they're operating on an uncapped incentive,
mm-hmm.
which means any movie that wants to shoot there will get access to the incentive. There's no limit. And in Pennsylvania, there is a limit.
Why is there a limit? How does that work?
I think it's just budgetary.
Okay.
There's just how much do we want to allocate to put into the film industry.
Oh, gotcha.
And Atlanta, it's grown their economy so much that they just can't fill all the roles. So they're literally pulling people off the street to grab light stands and do other stuff because there's just not enough people living there. But more people are moving, every day to be a part of this industry. So it totally is. They went, you know what, we're going to heavily invest in the film industry, and we're just going to give unlimited amounts of money, to do it. And their economy is growing because, when a production comes in, they inject tons of money into the economy. Even if people don't live there, they come there, they stay in hotels, they buy the food.
Mm-hmm.
So all the local restaurants prosper because of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just really a good thing for everyone. Like in Texas, this is the only actual economic thing I ever saw. They were making $5 for every dollar they put in.
Wow.
Can you imagine having a business that made 500%? Like every single, yeah. So it's basically like, how can you not?
Why
do
would
that?
you not? Yeah.
Yeah. Why would you not? And I understand, it's hard to allocate funds to anything, it's just one of those things that you have to heavily focus on, but you also have to have the money to do it. But this is one of those things that, as long as you can attract productions to come in and use all of your incentive, which seems to be the case now with like Netflix and Mindhunter, and Pittsburgh's really prospering, as far as film is concerned, because they access almost all the incentive.
Yeah.
Problem is, people want to come here and shoot because you can mimic so many different places from, look at, we made Pittsburgh Gotham City for The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
And, Philly can look like other places and other stuff like that. But it just, and you have all the trees, so you can do as many horror films as you want, really.
Right.
But it's one of those things that, if you inject enough money into it, I think a lot of people will gravitate because they want to live here. They want to shoot here.
And who wouldn't want to be a part of the film, even if you're a grip, right? Or some like small role. Say like just all we ever talk about is jobs. We're going to create more jobs. We're going to start coal mining again. We need more jobs.
Right.
Like who wouldn't want to work and be a part of the movie industry?
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
Even if you're like just a hand on the set.
Yeah.
Like, how cool would that be?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that actually know what they're doing as far as media creation and other stuff like that, and they just don't have that outlet to be able to do it. You know, like there's not a lot of investment in film, so they can't make their own film. And if they want to live in PA for whatever reason, you know, being your family or because they like it, they're kind of handcuffed because they don't have that outlet to run to.
Yeah.
And I think if you had a legit studio, if you had other things, you could make it very close to what a rock Lidditz is. And
so people probably don't know what a rock Lidditz is.
Totally.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah.
This blew my mind when I was told. I know you may not want to let the cat out of the bag. That's not what Lidditz wants. Lidditz, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting. So a little bit about that. Like, explain that a little bit.
Yeah. So what Rock Lidditz is it's a collective of people in the live event industry that have come together and have created like this little, almost like a warehouse, like place to work, and everything is there. Like anyone that wants to have, we'll just say Bon Jovi, for example, they've used them to. They come there. They have like a professionally sized stage so that they can practice and all the roadies can practice and everybody can really get the live show up and running. So if they're like, what do you need? You need screens. You need media to put on the screens. You need, you know, a light show. You need fireworks. You need all kinds of that stuff. And it's all under one roof. In Lidditz, Pennsylvania, in the middle of farmlands.
Isn't that
Believe it or
crazy?
not. Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah. So, and you know, a lot of stars come there to check it out. Like, you know, Lady Gaga has been there and she stayed there for a while. And
nobody ever, with all of the social media press and everything now, it's amazing that a place like Rock Lidditz can stay under the radar. That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. And if people like apply that to film industry, you know, they can see what they're doing. How do you get, you know, people in and out of your facility without anyone really bothering them, or, you know, the media isn't going to go crazy over, you know, celebrities here as much as they would in LA or New York or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm a huge advocate that there are a lot of things that we can look at to go, this is how we can do it, and we can be as good or better than any other film industry in the country.
Because they already have a model that you can kind of just tailor over to film instead of live concerts or whatever it might be.
Yeah, don't want to let the cat out of the bag too big,
Yeah,
but
that's super interesting.
That's basically
man.
it. Yeah.
And that's obviously a project that's going to be put together for years, you know, to build something like that. But I think that's awesome. And I'll tell you, man, I'm really glad that you got in contact with me, because what I've just been finding over the past year, and I'd say especially over the past several months, is just being in Catalyst Space here where the studio's at, and just being around people who are like excited to do stuff and who are like creating things and who have a mission. And for many years, and this is not a knock on anybody that was ever in my life, it's just that for many years I didn't meet a lot of people who, they just had jobs, as I did. I mean, I was in radio. I loved to create on the air, but I just had a job. I never looked at it like this thing that was like my creation or whatever.
Right.
But once you start looking at life like that, you start getting connected with other people who also want to do that. And I imagine that was your situation, right? Being a film editor, you love what you're doing, you're creating on the spot, but it's not your thing necessarily. And is that where PA Traveler came in? Like, this is your chance to do your thing with your skill?
Well, the thing with me is when we decided to move back from Austin, we were like, okay, how am I going to make Pennsylvania work for me?
Yeah.
You know, it's like my wife, she can do her job anywhere. She's an occupational therapist that does home health, and that can be done in any state or any city, you know, whatever. But I'm a film person moving to a place with not a horribly, you know, huge amount of film.
Although you could do editing from anywhere, correct?
Yes.
I mean,
So when I did move, before I made the pilot that you saw, I actually was working on a feature film out of New York. And so I could do that remotely, and I just visited set a couple of times, picked up the footage, and that was that. And that's the wonderful life of editing now, is that people can just send you their footage and you can edit your whole movie over Skype.
Yeah.
Which is great. But, you know, how often was that going to come along? You know, I didn't have any answers, but I thought, okay, how can I take a little control of my life? Because I still want to be an editor. But, you know, in the meantime, if I don't have anything for a while or whatever, what could I do? And, you know, there comes a time where you just have to look at your entire life and go, what could I do now? And how
Trying to
can
get creative.
yeah, and how can I be, the master of my own destiny a little bit? Because as an editor, you're given things from people, but you don't make it. You don't create it. You create from what they have already created.
Yeah.
So this is my way of making Pennsylvania work for me.
Great again.
Yeah.
Again.
while we're waiting, but I also took a step back and said, what am I doing that's really super meaningful?
Yeah.
And there is, some people in the biology field or something would scoff at, oh, you're in the film industry, so you're not important. You don't do anything important. It's like, okay, what if somebody was having, a really bad time with life and they showed up, watched my movie and switched perspective for whatever reason because of the content, and it changed their life?
No doubt, man. I think, how many movies, TV shows, or whatever have changed people's lives?
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. Myself included. Like music did that for me. It's any sort of media creation can possibly do that, or inspire, or make someone laugh when they need it, or whatever. So it is important, but I wasn't really the one doing it. I wasn't the one creating it, and I thought, what can I personally do that's sort of meaningful, that will get people just excited about going out and doing something positive. And that's where this came in. I was like, okay, well, if I can make people go explore places that they never ever would have explored, that's a win.
That's pretty cool. And also helping the tourism of Pennsylvania, giving back to the place you grew up, and
totally,
and something that, like, I guess you realized yourself, and now you're bringing it to other people. You realized, oh wow, there's a lot of stuff here. I never thought there was anything here. Yeah, and then kind of getting other people to think that same way.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
I really began my research last year, a year and a half ago now, because I've been back for a year, and I was like, okay, when I move to Pennsylvania, I'm going to do this show. And what do I got to do? So I started researching, what's there to do where, and I made a Google map, and it has at this point, it has 9,000 points of interest or something like that. Something crazy.
So you'll be doing this show until you're dead, basically.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. It would be nice to do, lots of different things out of this show. So the show is just kind of the beginning, and there's a lot I'm keeping close to the vest on where I want this to go. But I do want to be, a travel resource for people so that they can go there and, find a little bit of happiness for the day or whatever.
And look at how many people have made their careers out of that, right? Out of just traveling around to different places, and places that you would bypass a million times and never even look twice at, right? And they find the hidden gem there. I think that's when you talk about a part of life that's maybe the most satisfying, is whenever you find something that nobody else knew about. I found that whenever in Pennsylvania, sure, other people knew about it before I did, but when I found the abandoned turnpike in Breezewood, which is where they shot some of The Road. What was that movie? What was that with Viggo Mortensen? Or
The Road.
Loved that movie, and that was shot, some of those scenes were shot at the abandoned turnpike. I went there with my wife, and it was like, what the hell is this place? This is so amazing, and it's just back,
eerie too,
scary. Yeah, it is really weird. I couldn't imagine being there at night.
Yeah, there's a lot of places like that in Pennsylvania. It's like you drive around at night and you're like, okay, no one's around. This is crazy. Right. there's this weird statue over there looking at me. I don't know.
I've seen too many horror movies.
Yeah, well,
I know how this ends up.
I've seen a few ghosts myself, so this is a very haunted state.
Have you seen ghosts in PA?
Yes.
Or where? Oh, okay. Well, Gettysburg?
In California.
Where were you? Oh, in California.
Oh, I do have a good Gettysburg.
Oh, do you really?
Are we getting into this?
Whatever, man.
Are we getting into the paranormal here?
Yeah, I'd love to. That's awesome. I've never been to Gettysburg. I've always heard the awesome. I've been there, but not in the ghost hunter sense. I never experienced anything.
Yeah. Well, it's a very crazy story with my sister, and she doesn't believe in all this stuff. So it's very odd that since it happened to her that she still doesn't believe. But,
really?
Yeah. It was 90-some degrees and super humid the night we went on a ghost walk on the battlefields.
Oh, geez.
And her lip starts quivering. And I'm like, and she's like, like that. And I'm like, what's wrong with you?
What's
it's
going on?
She's like, I'm so cold. And I'm like, okay, it's 90 degrees out. Why? What's the deal with this?
Yeah.
She's like, I'm so cold. I'm like, well, how? It's super humid. And she goes, no, feel. And she goes, boom, and grabs my arm. and it felt like she just dipped her hand in like an ice bucket.
What?
Yeah. And I was like, ah, and I like jumped, and
Get away from me.
Yeah. And I was like, Mom, Dad, like, check this out. And she goes, no, check it. Yeah. And she touches them and they're like, what is wrong with you? And she's like, I don't know. I'm so cold. Right. And then the tour guide is like, okay, let's move on. So we just move away from that spot.
Yeah.
She instantly warms up and is fine.
Whoa.
I mean,
So you didn't see anything, but you
no.
felt that.
Yeah. So that was weird. That wasn't one of my seeing stories.
That's
That-
bizarre.
yeah.
Also, there's more.
Oh, there is.
Does this relate to film in any way, shape, or form? Like, was this part of the travels or anything, or is this just like random occurrences?
I was on the film studio a lot for one of them.
Okay.
But,
Where at?
Universal Studios.
Okay.
Yeah. So I this is weird because it talks about going to the bathroom, but
Well,
we'll just talk
we,
about
we
it.
do.
I know,
People
that's
do go
true.
to the bathroom.
Okay, so we were mixing on the soundstage for Broken City. I was on, and I don't know, we were just taking a break for like 20 minutes or whatever, and I go downstairs and I go to the bathroom, and I open the door, and I instantly feel this weird sensation, and I can't, for the life of me, when I try to tell people, I can't describe what this sensation is. I've only felt it one other time in my life, and it's the first time I saw a ghost. But I didn't really recognize that was what it was when I walked in. So I walk in, and out of the corner of my eye, like, when there are cracks in the stall, and you can just see if like there's an outline of someone in there,
Yeah.
And so I'm just walking out of the corner of my eye, I see like this black figure in the stall. And so, I just go to the urinal, start doing my business. And then suddenly I hear boom, right? The stall door comes out, hits me, and I turn around. Nothing's there. So
Forget that, man.
but I'm standing there going to the bathroom. Like, what am I going to do? Run and just like,
you can't pinch it. It's not
you
good for
can't,
your bladder.
you can't stop. It's too late. So I'm looking all around, and then the instant that happened, like, I felt this amazing warm sensation of like relief and peace.
Wow.
It's very weird. And I was just like, nothing's here, so like whatever it was, like,
Was taking a dump
bounced.
and then took off.
Yeah. So
Didn't even wash their hands.
yeah. So that's weird in itself. But what happens next is weirder, is when I went upstairs and they were in the middle of talking about a director that wouldn't mix on that stage anymore because he had seen a ghost. And they were talking amongst themselves, and I'm just like keeping to myself, listening. And then they go, yeah, nobody knows who he is, but we frequently see him. He comes up and watches us work. And he's most often seen in the men's bathroom downstairs. And I was like, guys, I just had an experience. And they're like, yeah, we're not surprised. We see him all the time.
What are the chances that was happening right then? That's crazy.
I don't know.
man.
And nobody knows who he is. Like, there's no like fire or anything.
That's pretty common with Hollywood, right? There's a lot of ghost stories.
Yeah,
I used
I
to
mean-
watch True Hollywood Story a lot.
I mean,
on
just
E,
look
so
up
I always think-
like Wizard of Oz and The Exorcist and all the
Yeah.
weird stuff that surrounds those projects and things. Like, it's very strange.
That is really, really bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
Well, going back to Pennsylvania, going back to what your show's all about. So I guess like the history of your film editing career.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like it's led you to this point? Like, you probably never saw this coming, right? You're living all over the country. You weren't like, yeah, I'm going to go back to Pennsylvania, like to Lidditz. I'm going to live there, I think.
Never. It's one of those things where you look back and it's like, this led to this, led to this, led to this, and it's like, okay, is this the universe? Is this what, is this a grand plan for me or what?
Yeah.
But it's just kind of a culmination of experiences. Like, I know how to make the show because of, working on $30 million+ movies.
Yeah.
5 of them whenever I was in Hollywood. And then, when I moved to Texas, I never wanted to create anything ever. I just wanted to sit in a chair and have people give me their footage and edit it for them.
Yeah.
And that was fine with me. And that's all I ever that was my dream. That's all I ever wanted to do. And then I started making some videos in my spare time with my friend just to mess around. And I had so much fun. And you can actually go and watch one of these on Facebook. We made a horror short called The Ornament.
Awesome.
And it stars me and my daughter. And it was just us acting, and he was recording it. And then, but the two of us had enough know-how to make a cinematic looking piece, even though it was just two of us, making it. And I had so much fun doing it that I was like, you know what, I could definitely create something, but I didn't know what. So it was just two of us, doing all the sound, color, editing, shooting, lighting, all that good stuff, and the sound. And he wrote the music also, which I guess I should shout out. It's Dave Rabelais, and he's coming out with a new fitness program called the KIT method.
Very cool.
Which should be out in the next couple of days, so check out that website. But anyway.
How did he go? Well, let's not get into his whole thing.
Let's not get into
I have so many questions there, but yeah.
Yeah. It's just like keto and Tabata and other stuff.
Oh, okay.
So, support him because he's a great dude. And it's a shame we don't get to work together anymore. But I was checking out PBS there in Austin, and I saw the show called The Day Tripper. Mm-hmm. And essentially what he does is he goes and he shows you what all there is to do in a day trip, which is not my show. I show you, the time is either over a weekend or a day or whenever, it's just, I'm showing you what to do more than fitting a format or a gimmick.
Right.
But I looked at that and I said, I could make this show. Like when I moved to Pennsylvania, I could make this show. I could make a show like this. And so I just had it in my mind that I was going to do it, and that's all there was to it, Yeah. So we shot the pilot in last September, and just been editing and everything in my spare time from doing the film work. And
you're still doing all of your other work,
yeah,
on top of the editing for the show. So.
Yes, yeah. So that's why it took so long to do that, and now we have it out trying to get it on PBS, and they're watching it as we speak, and we'll see what happens with that. And if we don't get on with them for whatever reason, then we're just going to self-distribute, because I don't know what all you feel about the pilot, but I think it's strong enough that it's something that can be made and live on its own. It would just be a little harder to start up, because you don't have the infrastructure.
And the money.
But yeah, exactly. But PBS, I don't know if they fully fund any of their stuff, to be honest. So either way, we're going to be looking for, offering sponsorship opportunities and other things. So if there are any business owners out there that are interested in this type of show, feel free to contact me or anything. But
yeah, what is your contact info? If somebody is listening to this and they think because I watched the pilot, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a nice mix of information, humor. It's very much what you would expect from the sort of show that you're doing. Mm-hmm. It's not like it's not like a brochure guide of Pennsylvania, which would bore you to death. Right, it's like taking the interesting parts and then mixing your personality in with it and having
totally.
fun with it.
Yeah, that was the hardest and easiest thing to do, was mixing my personality into it. Because at first I was like, no one's gonna want to watch me, like no one's gonna care for me as a host or want to listen to my voice in a voiceover or any of that stuff. But we got to a point where I just went, you know what, I have to do it because we need to keep the crew small, and I know that at least I will be there.
Well, it's your deal. It's your project.
Yeah,
so you would know it better than you would.
Yeah, totally. And then, I weighed the options and I went, okay, I'm going to host it. So, I did. And a lot of people are very receptive to me as the host, and they appreciate like the humor that was injected into it. And I think it's one of those things that when you watch the show, my goal was to, one, not be like a polished guy. Like that's why you'll see me, I'll pick something up and it'll fall over or whatever. I add things that would typically be bloopers, but I want the audience to feel like they're with me, feel like they're there at that moment, as opposed to having the screen separate them from me, which is what happens. Like you watch, Booze Traveler or any of those, and you're sitting there in your living room and you're watching it, but you're not experiencing it necessarily. So that's kind of what I was going for, and I want anyone to look at it and know exactly who I am as a person. I'm not trying to put on a front, it's like me speaking right now is what you probably saw on the pilot. Yeah. And I'm trying to just be genuine, and I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy checking out Pennsylvania, come with me.
Right.
And that was the whole goal for what I was trying to do hosting-wise. Hopefully it came across that way.
This is a question I had for you that I was curious as to how you would approach this, because I agree when I watch it, I feel like I am getting you. It feels very natural. It doesn't feel like you're putting on a performance or anything like that. So you come from the world of Hollywood film editing, and talk about like the ultimate structure. Like there's no real room for negotiating, right? It's very much cut and dry. I guess what I'm saying is, whenever you're editing a movie compared to watching a YouTube video, right? A movie is fully produced and planned out and everything. Then you watch somebody on YouTube who you can tell just turned a camera on and started going. And I think for you, like the best of both worlds would be somewhere in the middle of those two things, like the cinematic like expertise of what a Hollywood movie would bring, but then also the down to earth natural stuff that like a YouTube video would bring. It's what I feel like would be your combination.
Yeah, and that's exactly, like, it's going back to what you said about a combination of all my experiences. That's basically what it was. I was like, I could do something professional looking, and I know what to do and how to do it and everything because of my time, spending on all those big budget films. And Hollywood is a machine.
Yeah.
And you see, I was at a level where I saw the proper way to do it. And there are a million other ways to do it. So like whenever you jump into the indie world, you're pulling shoestring budgets and you're hanging on by the skin of your teeth and everything like that. But I always had in the back of my mind knowing what the tried and true way is. And I could always take the chaos and kind of slowly mold it into that. Like how, little things like how I would give people visual effect shots. I did it exactly like I was taught on, whichever movie experience you want to point to, but I would watch them and just do exactly what they did. And I kind of, just take that machine and it's always in my head and I know the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it made it, even though I made the pilot for, just out of my own pocket and mostly I just paid for equipment and then everybody else, jumped in and helped along with it graciously. I appreciate that. But they donated their time for free, but I was able to be like, okay, I want this, this, and this, and everything. And it ended up becoming structured like a real travel show. So, it's the best of both worlds totally, but I don't understand exactly how YouTubers do it. Whenever I watch it, I'm like, how do you get good at that? There's no, well, I even had a script. It was a very loose script for my travel show, but I've always been based upon the structure of having a script and knowing exactly what the skeleton is for it and then filling it in.
Yeah.
But YouTubers just, they create without having all that.
Yeah.
And it just blows my mind,
Yeah, that's the thing. And I guess podcasting's kind of like that too. I mean, I came from radio, which was not super structured, but more structured than what this is, to just doing my own thing. And I think it just comes with practice, really. I mean, I don't know anybody. Maybe some people jump on YouTube. I had a girl, Hannah Baker, in here last week who started her YouTube channel back in January. She already has almost 10,000 followers. So, like, for some people, she got it. Like, you can watch her videos and like, oh, she got it right away. But I think a lot of people, you just got to figure it out. Like, I had 18 years in radio of stumbling and screwing things up. And I'm not saying I still get everything perfect on here, but like having that structure built in and just doing it over and over and over again. That's why I find YouTube so amazing, because you watch a TV show maybe on NBC that got a couple of million views and that's really good. But you go on YouTube and a show had somebody talking into a camera had like 100 million or 15 million people watch it. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, and
the way it's changing.
I mean, that just goes with the territory. It goes with anything that you create with. You're just going to get better. And that's why I was really happy how our pilot turned out, because I can show people like something that's good and say, well, with money and more episodes under our belt and everything, it's going to be that much better. And I'm just really optimistic and excited about, where it's going. And just, from what I've seen about Pennsylvania and the places I've already kind of scouted and been to that I've never been before, there's just so much out there, so much world out there, but so much state out there too, and I'm just really excited to get cracking at it soon. So
are you allowed to name the movies you've worked on?
Yeah, totally.
Like, what did you work on?
I worked, my debut movie, the first thing I ever worked on as an intern before I graduated Penn State was The Blind Side.
Okay.
So you may
Huge.
have heard of it.
Yeah. You may have caught that.
Sandra
one.
Bullock won the Academy Award.
Right.
But I did that, and then I did something called The Big Year,
Okay.
which was Owen Wilson, Jack Black, and Steve Martin. And then I went on to We Bought a Zoo.
How did I miss that? The Big Year. Never even heard of that. That sounds like it would have been a good movie. Was it?
I'll have to tell you off air
All right.
what happened with that movie.
Okay. All right. Cool. I love Steve. I love all three of those guys.
Yeah. It was basically, it was supposed to be a comedy, or it was marketed as a comedy, but it wasn't. It was a dramedy with very little comedy in it.
Oh.
And the studio kind of, said that it was one thing that it wasn't exactly.
Oh.
And when people got wind of that, they weren't receptive.
Yeah.
It's a movie about bird watching that had to be embraced as a movie about bird watching. So but even like birders probably didn't go see it because they didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Nobody
They presented it totally wrong.
Totally. Yeah. With Owen Wilson, Jack Black, and Steve Martin in your film, you think it would be like a rip-roaring,
Ridiculous, stupid comedy.
Yeah. So it at one point it was a great movie. I loved it. I really did.
Are you saying this is during the editing process?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what happens? That's fascinating, right? Like when you start editing a film, this might be different every time, but like, do you have all the footage before you start editing, or like do they just give you chunks and you got to start piecing stuff together?
No, most oftentimes, just depending on budget and infrastructure and everything, as they shoot the next day, you get it. It's called dailies.
Oh wow.
So they'll shoot on set and then send it to a post house, and then they put it on a hard drive, send it to the editorial, and my job would be like picking it up and everything and bringing it back. So I was sort of a gopher, but I also got to sit in sometimes and see the director and editor work together and everything. So I actually got a glimpse behind the curtain, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And
so they would start taking those little pieces daily and editing them before post production was even happening in full scale.
Right. So you edit. You try to edit all the scenes that were shot that day, the day you get them, or the day after, and then basically you go the whole length of shooting, and then you basically wrap up the film about a week after they're done shooting, and then after that happens, there might be, I don't know, a week off. It just depends. All directors need something different, so maybe like they need a week off to get some R&R or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But after that, you're in full swing in director's cut mode, and that usually lasts about 20 weeks typically. Wow. And then after that, you have a preview, and then the producer steps in and gives notes and how they think you can make more money and all that stuff, or make it a better film. And then after that, it comes out. So there's a lot of hands in it. There's a lot of things that can go right, a lot of input, a lot of things that can go wrong, depending on input. And it's a very interesting process for the big budget world.
It always seems so daunting to me. I mean, the some people who like write and direct and film and edit movies, like, my God, just from the beginning phases to getting it done and all the years in between, and like, how do you stick with a concept in your mind and turn it into a film, and that takes years. Like the dedication to get, and that's not even saying it's going to be successful. Mm-hmm. Not even saying it's going to be good.
Right.
Just to put that time into that, boy, that's a lot.
Yeah, depending on the marketing and all that other good stuff.
God, I can't even imagine where you'd start. It takes a certain kind of person.
Oh, it totally does. It totally does. And that's definitely not the kind of like, I don't want to be a producer. I would never want that job, honestly. And I really don't want to be a director other than, my travel show pretty much. Yeah. That's a very different type of director than like a narrative director or anything like that.
So what were the rest of the films?
Yes. So where we leave off? Big Year?
Big Year.
Yeah. So The Big Year. And then I did Broken City with Mark Wahlberg was in it.
Okay.
With Russell Crowe. And then after that, I did Saving Mr. Banks, and that was my last Hollywood film.
And that's where you're left off right now. As that came to a close, the
Yeah.
PA Traveler began? Is that what you're just working on?
No, actually,
recently?
there's a lot of time in between.
Okay.
That's when I started my editing career, like being an editor.
Oh, okay.
So that was interesting in itself, where, I decided that I had an opportunity in front of me to edit a film, and I was either going to edit for free, basically, in order to like build up a reel so that I can show people and say, these are all the great scenes that I edited,
Is that how that usually works? Do you start out?
Sometimes,
Okay.
yeah. Whenever you don't have any credits under your name, aside from like, being a PA on the big things, like I didn't have any editing credits, so you have to get them. And sometimes you can start off as an assistant and build your way up till you make the jump and become editor.
Sure.
I just kind of weighed my options, and this opportunity was in front of me, and I said, I'll just be an editor now instead of waiting so long. So that's what I did for a few years.
Was that always your goal with film editing?
Yeah. I always wanted to be a film editor, and not an assistant or anything like that. I didn't just want to like be in the film world. I kind of wanted to be a department head and actually be the one putting the movie together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I decided to go that route.
And as far as like where your editing passion came from, because I love editing video.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have always really enjoyed it. I just don't, it's not like my specialty, and I don't think I'm like necessarily great at it. I just enjoy it for some reason. I love like putting music and audio underneath things and like piecing that. It's like a puzzle you're putting together.
Totally.
It's really an art form. Where did the passion come for that? Like what first got you into it?
One particular project, actually, when I was in 8th grade. That's when I knew what I wanted to do the rest of my life,
Okay.
which a lot of people don't have don't have the ability to say that. But
Yeah.
8th grade, I was my church at St. Mary's was starting up a youth group, and I decided, I have this camera. I'm going to try to make a little video, and maybe kids will want to come because of seeing us, and we're playing around and everything, and everybody could see all the activities that we were doing. So I got this really like kind of lousy editing program from Best Buy or wherever, and it was just most of the time you work in non-linear editing, so you have multiple tracks. Mm-hmm. This only had one track, so you had to like replace things on the track and other stuff like that. So it was very cumbersome and all that stuff. But when I was editing it, I would like forget to eat. and yeah, and
That's a good sign that you're on the right track.
well, it's
right?
yeah, especially I guess
When you're so distracted.
yeah,
that you forget to eat.
yeah, exactly. Like I would just lose track of time. I would forget to eat and everything, and it's the only thing that ever made me focus like that, because
okay.
I am sort of like ADHD, sort of.
Yeah.
I've never been diagnosed or anything, but I have trouble focusing. I'm very high energy, and I have issues with sitting still sometimes.
Right.
And for some reason, I could sit still for 8 hours at a time. So I was like, this must be my thing, because I never had any aspiration of what I wanted to do when I grew up. But as soon as I did this, I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. And the whole, putting the footage in, putting it together, laying in the music, making things timed up with the music was exciting to me.
Yeah.
Because I love music. And that was just the instance I knew. And then I went in the broadcasting program at Altoona High.
Oh, okay.
And
Mr. Sipes.
Mr. Sipes really
What up, Sipes?
helped foster that. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. I told him on the last day of school, I said, thank you for helping me find out what I want to do. And that was very meaningful to me.
For all the kids who go through broadcasting just to get an easy A, get some extra credit, right?
Yep. I was definitely the rarity.
Yeah.
I was trying to make videos to be fun and stuff like that. I had this character called Dodson that people might remember. It was me being
Dodson.
I was pretending I was like Steve Irwin. It was awful.
Okay, I like it.
And my wife and I are high school sweethearts, so she would sit there during the morning announcements on MLTV and just shudder in her desk.
Why?
Yeah. At that time, she was Jenna Loop. Now she's Jenna Dodson. But yeah, she would just cower in her seat. And, it seemed like half the students liked it and half of it hated it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I guess that's comedy, right?
Yeah.
It's like people are either going to like it or not. But I always wanted to take the opportunity to make something narrative as opposed to just doing it to get an A. And I was just making little videos that I have on a DVD still. Maybe one day they'll be released when I'm famous, but
That's so funny, man, that you say that, because like when I was in, I had Sipes for broadcasting. It's ironic that this came up, because that was like, I went through college and afterwards went for communications at Penn State Altoona, and I learned more in my 2 years in broadcasting in high school than I learned in college. Now, I didn't go to a film college or anything that was like specialized in it, but that broadcasting experience, I was always behind the scenes, except for this one series that I did. I think I only did like 2 or 3 episodes, but it was called Clubs of the Unknown. So I'd go like the chess club, or like these random clubs that nobody ever taught, not like football or like basketball or something, but like these random clubs, and I'd do like these stupid videos, and they were really stupid. I thought they were funny. Looking back, I wish I don't have the videos. I wish I did, but it was a great way to just kind of experiment with whatever. And Sipes was cool with that. Mm-hmm. He was just like, yeah, you want to do something, go for it, as long as you weren't like swearing or something like that.
Yeah, I think he was just excited to have people like my group also did it with me, so it wasn't just me. But he was excited to have people in his class that wanted to do it, as an actual, for something legit, as opposed to, like you said, the easy A. I think he was really excited about that, and he really helped answer every question about it, and really push me to do whatever it was that I wanted to create. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I definitely can't thank him enough for that.
It was a great. That was the most fun I had in school, without a doubt, was going to broadcasting, and it. I don't know. It seems to me like everybody, of course, like you talk to people, they love music, like they love movies, right? Who doesn't love a certain movie? Right. Like everybody has their favorite movie, but to like have a passion to actually want to get involved with it, like to do editing. Like I love audio editing. That's something, obviously being in radio for such a long time, that I was really attuned to, but. There's something fun about being able to create. Like I work here at Catalyst Space, and there's tons of people here who create stuff. Like there's the cryptocurrencies, there's 3D printers, and I don't touch any of that stuff.
Right.
It's amazing to me, and I think it's awesome. But my brain is like works in a creative, like to create something kind of way, but it's more of just talking into a microphone, or I guess video too, also creating. And some people don't look at that as an art form, like with what you do is an art form, for sure. How long would it take you, or I guess like how many editors would you have on a movie? You and how many other people?
Just depending on budget and the scope and everything like that. I think Avenger movies have like 2 or 3 sometimes.
That's it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, most of the time it's just one. Okay. So
really?
Yeah. One credited, but yeah, and you'll have like first assistants that will do some cutting themselves and other stuff. Or, depending on how many directors are working on the film, they might each have their own guy. Yeah. If it's an anthology film or whatever, then you'll have a bunch of different ones. But for a big budget movie, it's usually 1 to 3.
How cool is that, man? So you're in complete control of what that thing looks like.
Oh, totally. It's the great thing about it is the collaboration. It's you and the director in a room. You're backed by millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Right? But you two are in the driver's seat, and you make the film what it is.
Yeah. The movie stars, the celebrities have already done their part. And
right.
It's
just sitting on hard drives at that point.
Yeah.
So without the editor, it doesn't get made. I mean, everything you shot would just be sitting there. But it is really cool seeing the collaboration. That's my favorite aspect of editing is jumping on with the director or sitting next to the director and really hammering out like, okay, what's the problem with this scene? What's the problem with the movie as a whole? How can we fix it? How can we do this? How can we do that? And it's the problem solving and collaboration that I enjoy the most. I mean, it's just unreal. You wouldn't think it's just 2 people putting it together.
I thought when I asked that question, you were going to say like there was 20, 30, 40 editors.
Nope.
And you had to like collaborate and combine things, and I thought that'd be incredibly difficult.
Yeah,
if it's just you and the director.
Honestly, it doesn't matter how big the movie is. Typically it's just the one dude, and then putting the movie together, and then once the movie's together, then the one dude and the director.
Okay.
And that's it.
Who did you always look up to? As were you like you studied editors? Is that something you did? Like, or you studied films?
I actually didn't.
Okay.
But I was definitely starstruck, or or awestruck, I guess, when I met Mark Lavolsi. He had done just all kinds of big budget films like The Girl Next Door, Wedding Crashers, Devil Wears Prada, Marley and Me. You know, he was on his way to being just a huge editor, and at that point already was. And I just, you know, went to this event at Penn State, and he was getting some like not lifetime achievement, but some sort of achievement award for being an alumni. And I sat next to him and I asked him all these questions. Other kids were asking him directing questions, producing questions, but nobody was asking him editing questions. So I started doing that. And then at the end of it, I said, hey, can I have like your email address and just like keep, you know, up to date with you or whatever? Yeah, sure. So then I reach out to him and he's like, oh yeah, we're doing this football movie called The Blind Side, and we actually need help if you want to come during the summer to New York and LA. And I'm like, yeah, I'm there. So I took it.
How old were you at the time?
21, 22.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and then I had to come back to college after that experience, and it was like, it was just waiting to have the next experience. So it was a whole school year just waiting to have your next big budget movie experience, you know? So that was a little brutal for a while. But yeah, I mean, I look up to him tremendously. Now he's on things like The Jungle Book, and he just is editing Lion King currently.
Really?
And yeah. He's just like, if you want to see how things are done properly, like he's the one to go to. I also worked under Joe Hutching, which is actually Mark's mentor or who Mark assisted. And he did things like Meet Joe Black and JFK, the movie Oliver Stone did, and just countless other ones. And the other editor I worked for was Cindy Mallow, and she worked on like Mad Men and, you know, the biggest of the big TV shows. Now she edits Ozark.
Okay.
So yeah,
wow.
it was good people to be, you know, to be able to look up to for sure and see every day and how they work and all that.
And a lot of that rubbed off, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Throughout the years.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely apply a lot of things, how I edit things and other stuff to techniques that they used and things that I witnessed them doing.
Well, what you were just saying a second ago was, I had Steve Sheets in here earlier today, and we were talking about, you know, mentors, right? And like and I was asking him the question, like, how do you get in front of the people that you want to know or you want to learn from or who could help you in some sort of way? And he said the same thing you did. Like, you end up next to that person, whether you purposely like forced yourself next to them or you just happen to be there, you just got to start asking them questions and asking them for help. Mm-hmm. He's like, just asking. Most of the 90% of the time, they're going to give you some advice, and if not, in beyond that, they'll even help you further, like what happened to you going to work on The Blind Side and stuff like that. Like, it just kind of, it can happen that way. You just got to put yourself in the right situations and then take the most of the opportunity. Yeah, right, and just
absolutely
go for it.
Take the opportunity and run with it for sure.
And a lot of people wouldn't.
Yeah, and that's for anything. I mean, it's not just film industry, but yeah, you definitely should for film industry. If the place isn't correct to be, you know, pitching them movie ideas, don't do it. Yeah. Obviously, but you know, when the moment's right and you're, you know, in near proximity to them and you happen to be talking to them already, just ask. Yeah. You know, that's all it is. It's
so simple, right? And we all kind of like know that, but you have to hear other people say it. And I'm just thinking of somebody who's listening to this who, like, you know, is trying to start their own thing or trying to find people to help them start their own thing. Like, you have to put yourself in those spots, and even though everybody who's in that position is saying in their head, I should ask this question, I should do this thing, I should, you know, maybe be a little more of the top than anybody else would be. Mm-hmm. And the person who does a little bit more is gonna stand out so much more because nobody ever usually crosses that line.
Yeah, well, I think you just need to look at, you need to ask yourself a question, I think, in those moments. What's not gonna help me?
That's good.
Doing nothing, right? So I think that's the way to look at it. Not, oh, can I talk to them? Are they going to think this about me? You know, whatever. But if you don't ask at all or don't try, you know, for fear of rejection or whatever the case may be, you know, what's not going to help me?
Yeah.
And if you never do it, then that's not going to help you for sure.
Yeah. That would be the worst possible thing you could do is
Nothing.
not saying anything.
Yep.
If you put yourself in that spot and think that at that time, then yeah, that's a good way. Is that what you did when you were sitting there? Or you just were so excited you just started rambling?
No, it was just one of those things where I went, this is my one opportunity, to be on like a big budget thing. So I need to keep in touch with this guy.
Yeah.
And that's the mindset I had. I was just like, if I don't ask, then he won't, give me the time of day, and and he won't even know I exist.
Right.
So I had to make myself known to him, I guess.
And you did, and it worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are your favorite movies, like favorite films of your, just personally, that you loved throughout the years?
My all-time favorite movie?
I would love to know. Yes.
The Muppet Christmas Carol.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Why?
For one, it's so well done.
Okay. When did that come out?
That if
How
you
old
just
is that?
substitute the puppets as people, then it would be a great movie anyway.
Oh, okay.
That's what I mean. Like just because it's Muppets doesn't mean it's silly or bad. Like it's a legit interpretation of, that story. So I know it's funny.
That's a hilarious answer.
I know.
Yeah,
I know. But it's and the reason I say that is it the best movie ever made? Maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
It is super well made, but I have to watch it every year. Like it's the only movie that I actually feel like I have to watch it every Christmas.
How old is that? Is that like the older? Is it
93?
Okay.
I want to say.
All right.
Yeah. Except they really screwed up because there's a song that pulls at your heartstrings. It's the biggest moment where Scrooge changes into being Scrooge.
Yeah.
And it's when he breaks up with his like fiance, and they sing this song that like, oh, it's just heart-wrenching. And Michael Caine's like crying and everything. And then they cut it because the kids in the audience, they thought it was boring. So there you go again. In order to make money, they decided to cut something that was crucial to the story.
Yeah.
So when I was growing up, we had the VHS tape, and I've owned it on every like iteration there is. I've owned it on VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray so far, and I'll probably get it on 4K one day.
You
or
force
whatever.
your kids to watch it.
No, I mean, I think my kid enjoys it.
Okay.
But
As long as you do, that's all that really matters.
well, yeah, it's just a perfect Christmas movie. But I also like, weird psychological things like Donnie Darko.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You have to watch it like 20 times, but to get it. And The Matrix I've seen well over 20 times at this point.
All three or just the first?
Just the first.
Okay.
Yeah, because the first could stand alone as its own movie.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I thought Reloaded was good. It was more of an action movie.
Yeah.
But the third one didn't do it much for me.
No, not
But the
really.
first one still is like game changing.
Yeah, they jumped the shark pretty bad with all the bad CGI and everything. They were just trying to do too much in those last two. But that first movie is just amazing, and it changed everything. I mean, that bullet time technology, all that stuff, just really changed the way that effects are in the film industry. So kudos to the Wachowskis, right?
I'm not even sure. Now they're both women. Are they both women now? Or one of them became a woman?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was both of them or not.
Yeah, I think they're the Wachowski sisters now,
now,
not the
yeah.
not the brothers.
I believe you're correct.
Huh.
But that is, Matrix was one of those movies that, it blew my mind. Terminator 2 has always been my favorite movie. I love James Cameron. I always love Schwarzenegger. I love futuristic, end of the world kind of movies.
Mm-hmm.
I love robots. Like, took everything and put it in one movie. It's just always
I mean,
my mind.
you could argue that was the game changer before The Matrix.
Right, yeah.
Because he
Special
invented
effects.
all those effects himself, doing all kinds of crazy stuff.
Cameron did.
Yeah.
Did he really?
Yeah, I think there were a lot of techniques that he used that he kind of created for that. I mean, Cameron does very innovative stuff.
Yeah.
For sure.
They're coming back with a new Terminator now. It's going to be the sequel to the second. Because they're going to consider everything else never happened. And they're going to go off the second into the third. He's a director in it. He's on board.
Yeah. Okay, maybe it'll be better then.
Maybe.
But it's like, it's up to this point, it's been beating a dead horse. It's like, I don't know if any of them actually make money.
Really?
Or much.
The Terminator movies?
Yeah, a lot of people are
Yeah,
like, I heard it's bad, and they don't go see it.
They've been bad the
Yeah.
past couple. So that's something I wanted to ask you as well. Is like I had another guy, Joe Glasson, here a few months ago. He's local. He does the Gray Medium, which is like a local video series for businesses. And he does an awesome job. And I was talking to him about this because he makes like his own short films and stuff. And I just feel like the movie industry is different from whenever I was a kid for sure. But it's so flooded. Like there's so many movies and there's so much crap. Not even saying like bad movies. I'm saying crap in general in the sense of like there's so much. How is it possible? Like, how do you even make a movie anymore? Number one, how are so many movies made? Like, you go on Netflix and there's 18 million B movies on there. Like, where do they all come from? Where's the funding come from? And do you think that the industry's still like as strong as it was, say, in like the 90s or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, you don't always have the funding for it. You know, people can make a 4K movie or record in 4K on their iPhone.
True.
Was it Soderbergh? Steven Soderbergh just shot one all by iPhone.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
I think it was him. But yeah, I mean, anyone can make a movie now.
Yeah.
As long as you have like Adobe's suite, you can do all the color, all the sound, all the everything. I mean, that's how I was doing things, and how I continue to do things. So
the people in the top of the industry are using the same stuff as the people who are working from home, who don't even.
Yeah, well, yes and no. Like for post production, you definitely have much more sophisticated things as far as color goes. Yeah, as far as the equipment they have, but they do use like DaVinci Resolve. Just like you can go online and download that for free right now. So it's not the pro version, but the pro version is only like $300.
Wow.
So you can, as long as you know how to use it, it's the person.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's if you know how to use it and you know how to make a good story, you know how to, light it and shoot it and everything like that, you could theoretically make a really good movie by yourself. which in the film days that wouldn't have been possible.
Besides like the Blair Witch Project, I guess, which was like an anomaly at the time.
Totally. That was a big game changer. Even though
and I guess that's still affecting things today, right? I mean, that was like showing that you could do that.
Yeah.
And it would actually work.
Yeah, absolutely. And their marketing was amazing.
Yeah.
For it. People actually thought that they were real people and that they were dead. So they're like, no, we're here, we're alive.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry about that. But they just did tactics. They put them in the middle of a woods, which doesn't cost anything. Yeah. In a tent, which was like $30.
Yeah.
And then just scared the crap out of them when they were sleeping.
Found some old rickety house for the end of the movie.
Yep,
they could go
in the middle of the woods, and then that's all you need, really. I mean, as long as the actors are willing to act for whatever you're going to pay them, or even for free if they're doing like what I did when I was editing for free, like trying to build a reel and a portfolio and all that stuff. You literally, anyone can make a movie now.
So do you feel like the industry's, as strong as it's ever been? Is the quality as strong as it's ever been? I feel like it's so flooded with stuff that it's hard to find the really good stuff.
I think television is, as far as movie goes, I mean, there's just so much money involvement with it these days, and less of them are being made too. So that means smaller crews and all that stuff, and having like one thing that I had trouble moving up after a certain point was that editing crews used to be like 12 people, and now they're down to like 3 or 4. So it definitely isn't as much opportunity for the big stuff, and not as much funding for the big stuff because everyone seems to be gravitating towards either TV or gigantic budget movies. So there is that.
TV in a way has done away with movies because now you can have a movie that used to be an hour and a half, and now it's like Game of Thrones. It's that hundreds of hours long.
Right.
So you're getting a lot more out of stretching the characters out and everything.
Yeah. So it is really hard to make a movie that's fully fleshed out in 2 hours.
Yeah.
For sure. But you can't get people to do like Lord of the Rings when it was like 3.5 or whatever. Right. Very often. So I don't think the quality's gone down, but I mean there just have been so many more stories come out, in the last whatever so that things start to feel recycled, and there are a lot of remakes and all that stuff, but that's starting to kind of trail off. It looks like people I hope so. I think a lot of people were so so angry about like, oh, it's another remake, it's another, rip off or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they started having to make their own originals again, even though from a studio perspective, that's terrifying.
Right.
Doing something original because you don't know if it's going to take off or not.
Mm-hmm.
But like the biggest thing that seems to be taking off movie wise, in my perspective, is the horror genre. I guess supernatural genre.
Okay.
Like Get Out, A Quiet Place. Like they're actually putting effort now into making movies good that have those type of themes. They're not just
not just jump scares.
Yeah, jump scares and slasher flicks. Because whenever you have a movie that's just jump scares and no atmosphere, it doesn't make you feel anything, then people say it's bad. Even if it's not that bad of a movie, they'll be like, oh yeah, it was just jump scares. It wasn't scary,
right.
know. So people have to make good things now, and especially with TV also. It's just everyone needs good stories, or they're not going to binge, So it has to be good.
Yeah, and that's the Netflix has, I guess, blown the doors off of that as well. Just being able to have as much content as you would want, whether you want to watch a movie or you want to watch something that's like 10 years in 20 episodes each season or something like that. Do you see you see yourself with like the PA Traveler? Are you looking at Netflix? You're looking at PBS, obviously.
PBS.
I would think the Travel Channel, right, would be a place for it. YouTube would be a place for it. Where do you picture it going? What do you picture doing with it? I mean, obviously, right now you wanted to get it to PBS, but
right.
I feel like it would fit into any of those.
Yes and no. Probably not like a Netflix or any of the bigger places, simply because it's local.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very like if I had a show that was going all over the country or something like that, then it would be more accessible to networks, to streaming, to all that stuff. But
sure.
But currently, it's just, since it's local and it's only for Pennsylvania, it's really PBS or self-distribution is what I see going forward. So hopefully PBS wants to do it, because I could see this, being a change of pace for them. Like, from their typical programming is generally a little more like slow paced, but my show is a lot more fast paced with humor and all that good stuff, and also showing off Pennsylvania. So I could see it probably going on a website and marketing the website versus YouTube. But I very well could go the YouTube route also. So it just depends on what answer I get, I guess, currently.
See, you say about like it not being it wouldn't be like nationally picked up or something like that, but I feel like as long as the show's entertaining, like as long as you're entertaining and it's a fun show to watch, even though it's just about Pennsylvania, somebody in Arkansas could watch that and be like, oh, I love this guy. Kenny does an awesome job with this show about Pennsylvania. I'll enjoy watching it, because people will watch anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's true.
They'll watch literally anything as long as there's some sort of entertainment value behind it.
Yeah. Maybe. I mean, I haven't really thought too much about a national appeal with that, but I do see this being able to, if it gets popular enough, transform into, the Northeast Traveler or the, America, travel all of America or whatever. It's just, how much does this show take off? That'll determine all of my huge grand scheme plans. Wahaha, right? But
before world domination, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, exactly. So I just focusing on getting season 1 underway and then going from there. But we're definitely going to be basically, for season 1, I cut the state into 6 pieces, and I'm just going to do one in each area.
Oh, okay.
For starters, just so everybody all over the state has at least one place that they can easily access within
driving
a couple
distance.
hours.
Yeah,
something like that.
That's a cool model to go with. That way, something for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. I want this to be for everybody. It's like I said, I definitely want it to be a resource, and something that can help people and something they can use, just to have fun with the family, or just go on a little excursion with their significant other, or just themselves. Show places that they go, oh, I could eat lunch there, by myself. It looks like a cozy place that I can, take my laptop or whatever.
Yeah.
And just get people out and about in their backyard for sure.
Get people to actually do something in Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Get up and start doing something.
Yep.
And find cool places to go.
Exactly.
If they want to find the first episode, or if they want to find more information, I guess, about you, about PA Traveler, or maybe they want to get in contact with you to help you, or they just want to watch what you're doing.
Sure.
How do they find you?
Yeah. So it's facebook.com/the PA Traveler. That's kind of where I'm keeping the central hub of everything. And then I also have Instagram, the PA Traveler, Twitter, the PA Traveler. And, you can email me too at thepatraveler@gmail.com. And, soon, whenever we start getting answers for, how we're distributing and everything like that, I'm going to be able to start releasing clips and other stuff. So if you follow me on primarily Facebook, but everything else, you'll be able to start seeing little clips from the show and actually know what we're talking about as opposed to just listening to us talk about it.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, more power to you. I love it. I love the idea. I think it's awesome. It's really, once again, wrapping it back around to the beginning of like just saying it's cool to find people in Pennsylvania locally who are doing this sort of stuff and like have a passion for something and are taking the thing that you're an expert at that you've been doing for years and then now turning it into your own thing where like you're directly benefiting from it and directly in control of it.
Totally.
Because that's like, it's a lot of work being totally in control of something, but it also is incredibly satisfying when you do it the way you want it done.
Yeah, no, it totally is. Whenever I was done with that pilot, that was like the happiest day of the last decade for me. I was just like this sense of accomplishment, it was just one of the best feelings in the world. So if you have the ability to do something for yourself, even if it's on the side, give it a whirl because it just feels so good.
Yeah.
Even if what you do permanently doesn't feel as good.
Yeah.
So definitely get out, create, and use your imagination.
I think we all have that in our head. I think that everybody has that in their head. No matter what kind of job you have, you always have that thing that you're always thinking, man, I'd love to do that. I want to do that. And some people never ever get around to doing it. Some people act like it's just some sort of pipe dream that can't actually happen. But if you have like an hour or even 20, 30 minutes in your day that's free, just spend that time just chipping away a little bit of that thing you want to do, and eventually it'll turn into something.
Yeah, I think the issue is identifying what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's generally where people like. There's a lot of I can'ts. There's a lot of, it won't happens. Whatever. But you have to at least know what it is that you, quote unquote, can't do. You gotta go. Okay, ideally, what would I do if money was no option,
right.
If time
I didn't
was
care what people thought, unlimited resources.
Exactly. What do I want to do? And that's really where, true happiness comes, I think.
Yeah. And that's what this country's about, really.
Mm-hmm.
I just had Steve Sheets on, like I said, and his thing was, when I was reading the Sheets book and he was talking about it, and it resonated with me because I'm somebody who lived with a lot of fear for a long time. Still have it, but I'm working my way out of it. Starting my own business was a way of doing that. Just like doing certain things to get myself out of that mindset. And he said at a young age, his brother Bob taught him through Bob's actions that we live in a country where you literally can do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, are you going to go do it or not?
Right.
And that's it.
Totally.
And he learned that at a young age. And look at Sheets. I mean, look at the company, the industry they've created.
I'm sorry, what's Sheets?
Oh, it's
I've never heard of Sheets.
With a Z on the end, though.
Oh, okay.
MTOs, a little bit of gas.
Okay, something like that.
Yeah, cheese sticks.
Yeah, if I didn't know what Sheets was being from Altoona, then
there'd be something wrong.
I should leave the state now. Yeah, for sure. Love Sheets.
But I love that, man. I love the motivation for it and the idea behind it. Is there anything else you want to throw in? Anything else that we didn't touch on that you wanted to bring up?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think we're all good
it's
for now.
Too late. If you don't now, never can happen again. This is it.
You're never going to have me on again? Oh, man.
This is the last chance. No, I'm just messing with you. Yeah, I'd love to have you on again. I'd love the progress of the show and just talk about all the steps involved. I think this could be very motivational for a lot of people, either if they're in your industry or even if they're just doing their own thing. I love learning processes. You know what I mean? And the process of you going from where you were working with Hollywood stuff to doing your own thing and watching that grow. That's a great process.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing it back to you while you're still in the Hollywood industry.
Totally.
You're still. That's the other part of this, right? Is you're not out of that industry.
No.
that's still
not at all
your deal. It's just
I'm still looking to edit bigger and bigger movies, and hopefully be attached to some things in the near future, but also being able to make this show, because this is it's going to be great for opportunity wise to edit big budget films for obviously monetarily and just getting more people to watch your what you spent so much time creating.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like the show is the meaningful part to me, and that's definitely going to be the engine that keeps me going for sure. So I do want to edit big budget Hollywood films, but I still want to be the PA traveler too.
Yeah, do both. Why not?
Why not?
Because that keeps your skill level super high
Totally.
for anything that you do for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Kenny, thank you so much for coming in, man, and good luck with everything.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Oh, my goodness. So much fun talking with Kenny. Kenny, thank you for being a part of the show. Thank you for doing what you're doing for Pennsylvania. I love it. Now, also, shout-outs to Sports Evolution, 2900 Plank Road in Altoona, sportsevolution.net. That's where I take Gracie Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu from a purple belt. His name is Alan Coble. He's also certified CrossFit level 1 and 2, certified personal trainer and strength and conditioning specialist at Leading Athletes on Facebook and Instagram, but the business is Sports Evolution, 2900 Plank Road, Altoona, sportsevolution.net, and Harlequin Pepper Yoga. So Erin, who runs Harlequin Pepper Yoga, is doing something really cool. She has this discount code set up, so whether you contact her and join up through the App Store or through Google Play, or you walk into Harlequin Pepper Yoga and you say the words or type the words Rob Z, you will get 1 month free toward a 6-month or a year membership. 1 month for free toward a 6-month or a year membership. Just say Rob Z when you walk in, or you find it on the App Store or Google Play, or if you hit her up, maybe you DM her on Facebook or Instagram, Harlequin Pepper Yoga. It's Vinyasa Yoga, rooted in science, focusing on functional movement and anatomical alignment. Harlequin Pepper Yoga, 320 Allegheny Street in Hollidaysburg. Thank you to Kenny Dodson for being on the show. If you do something like Kenny does, if you're doing amazing things and you want to talk about them, I just love learning about people and the cool things they do. Message me. Find me and contact me at robzradio.com. My zebras, thank you for being a part of the show. Until next time, I love ya.
That's brutal.